Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So the time has finally come to get some of my tanks aquascaped, and of course I'm bringing you along for the ride. We're going to kick things off here with my 20-gallon guppy tank. I've always had success dirting my planted tanks in the past, so I'll be doing that again for this one. My base layer is a mix of sifted organic potting soil and earthworm castings. A mix I tried out last year that has really been giving me great results. I also mix in a little bit of red clay into the substrate for some added iron for some of my red plants. For hardscape, I decided to try something a little bit different. I'm mixing a few pieces of cerulean stone with a couple of pieces of spiderwood. Since the rocks are quite heavy and have some sharp edges on them, I utilized some egg crate to disperse the weight and protect the tank. Finding the right position was a little bit tricky, but once I found something that really complemented the wood and the rocks, I was pretty much done tweaking. Or so I thought. I did end up moving the wood around a little bit more while I was doing some of the planting, and finally settled on something that really stood out to me. This design idea was originally meant for the 8-gallon, but when I decided to make this the guppy tank, it transferred over here just as well. After getting the rocks situated in place, I capped off the dirt with some pool filter sand that I recycled from some of my old aquascapes. Every plant that went into this tank was originally in the 8-gallon tank when it was set up at my old place. Making up all my epiphytes, we have a couple species of Anubias, including Nana Petite, some Java Fern Windelove, some Java Moss, and a species of Buse, which I can't really recall which type it is at this point. And for the plants going into the substrate, we have some Crypt Parva, some Crypt Luchins, some Hydrocotyl Japan, Giant Hairgrass, some Rotala Hara, and a few sprigs that I have left over of some red Myriophyllum. And finally, with everything planted and the tank filled up, the guppies and the darters could go right back into this tank. Since the filter is already cycled and well established, along with some of the beneficial bacteria that's on the plants as well. I should also note that during the first week, I'll be doing at least 2 partial water changes on this tank, just to avoid any potential nutrient or ammonia spikes. And now with the 20 gallon all done, it's time to move on to the 8 gallon. Like I said in my last video, this is going to be a very simple scape, mainly just to give the fish and shrimp in here a nice calming feel, and to, of course, make it just a little bit aesthetically pleasing while everything is breeding in this tank. For the substrate, I went with the mix of earthworm castings and Brightwell Aquatics Flora and Volcanite that I had in the US native paludarium before. And for the simple scape, I went with a couple pieces of oak branches that were in the US native paludarium and a couple of smooth river stones, just to give the tank somewhat of a scaped look. And of course the wood does also serve as a grazing area for some of the shrimp. And just like mostly everything else in this tank, the plants are coming from the US native paludarium as well. For the plants in here, I'm putting in some Java moss, some dwarf sage, some pearlweed, and a Ludwigia species, which I can't exactly remember the type right now. And just like the 20 gallon, this tank will get a couple water changes throughout the first week. And with all the scaping done, it's now finally just time to sit back and enjoy the tanks.